Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Have it in. Some more. Let's get some more.
Why, hello, and welcome to my Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king. We are back from our trip because we have an even bigger show here tonight. We have a distillery that has won 7 awards in its first year of being open. They are all over the place and placed in a top 5 for best distilleries. It is insane. We are talking about Mark Townsend from Silver Fox Distilleries and Distill It in Canada YouTube channel, which you should always check out if you haven't already. Hop over there and subscribe because there's all sorts of distilling tidbits that they can do in Canada that we cannot technically do here. So how is everyone in the comments in the chat doing? It's good to see you here. I'm happy to see everyone who stopped in early. What are all of you having to drink out there? Because, well, we talked to Mark about everything that's going on. I don't know. We're going to be talking about all sorts of other stuff that they actually are putting out. Now, Mark, how are you doing over there?
Hey, I'm doing just fine up here. Hey, do you have a picture of, can you post that picture up again in the intro?
I can. I can bring that picture back. So
we opened up the distillery February the 6th of last year. That picture you see in front of you was taken at that time. So you can knock it down now.
Okay.
So it's been 11 months since I've been on here with you guys. And you know what? 11 months can be life-changing, especially in the distillery. And
I was not expecting that.
So, yeah, it can get a little rough.
You look like Dennis Hopper.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Where's Keanu Reeves? We got speed going on here.
We're thinking, this may have prematurely aged me a bit. We're not quite sure. The wife.
Are you gonna keep it though? That's the question.
You know what? That's really. Hey, I can't get to a hairdresser. This has been since March of last year. I have not cut my hair. I have not shaved in that period of time. I have never had my hair and my beard this long in my life. This is, I'm either going to shave it off or I'm going to dye it white and just be Santa. Say the hell with it.
Join me, Mark. It's Mohawk time, man. That's right. It's coming soon.
I'm not going to shave it off because it's going to fall out all on its own. So, the forehead's getting a little longer than what it used to be. So, we'll enjoy it for a little bit longer, I think.
No, I love it. Now, we were talking about all sorts of stuff beforehand, but let's spin back to about this time last year when we were talking to you. And can you take us forward with some of the stuff that has happened as you've worked through the beginning of COVID and now kind of to where you're at with the way things have happened?
Well, we're like most other distilleries, especially around us. We opened up February the 6th, and 2 weeks we made booze. During that 2 weeks, thank God, we submitted all our samples to the 2 shows we were going after. We were going to try and do more this year. We'll see how that goes. We had 5,000 liters of whiskey sitting in totes. We just hadn't gotten our barrels yet, so we were waiting for them to arrive so we could start doing that. Then all hell broke loose, and things went down the toilet in an Australian spiral. It just went backwards. And we looked around and we're going, well, hospitals are screaming, everything else. The police are coming up to the door asking if we can do anything. So we did. What we had on hand was our whiskey. We hadn't made sanitizer yet, so 5,000 liters of whiskey went into sanitizer and became sanitizer. And then we gave it away.
Oof.
and then we started making sanitizer. So at one point in time, we had 26 fermenters on the distillery floor. And it's Whiskey Santa. Everyone knows what they're
Make a
getting
good
if they're
list, Renita.
stocking. So yeah, we had 26 fermenters just humming the whole time. And now keep in mind, I still have my day job. Yeah.
Right.
So I work 10 hours a day there. It's an hour drive each way. So there's 13 hours a day with, breaks and everything else. So, and then I go to the distillery and I'm doing 6 to 8 hours a day there. And on my 2 days off at work, I'm spending 16 to 18 hour days. So when they shut down the work, I end up spending 18-hour days in the distillery, and there is pictures and videos of me sleeping under the stills. It was nuts, and we couldn't keep up. And the hospitals, they needed it, and there was no choice.
No, and we're happy you and other people like you chose to do what you did, and that is asking a lot. Like especially in the first year to basically dump your first couple products you have to start putting in barrels. Did you sneak maybe one barrel out of any of that? Nope, not a one. Okay,
every bit of it. Now we have 10 barrels now. Come the fall, we were able to get back on track and start going. We're gonna try and get another 20 done this year if we can. We'll see. We're still in Ontario is in a state of emergency again. We are locked down again. The factories are still running, and the businesses that are strictly necessary for food and health, they're still going, but everything else has been shut down. We have not been to a hairdresser in over a year. Not been to a restaurant. We have not sat in a restaurant in almost we were building the story, so over 2 years now. So when I'm seeing pictures of you guys down south having a blast, sitting in a restaurant, drinking whiskey, I am fuming. I'm going, how do I sneak my ass over the border?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty tight. Like even now, you said it's like I was just gonna bring that up because the lockdown you're in now is to the point where they have the free right to stop and ask you what you're doing out.
Yeah, it's the police have been giving the right by the government, the Ontario government, to stop anybody they are suspicious of and have them produce a valid reason for being out. Now, you could, of course, say, well, I'm going to get some groceries. Well, why is your car aimed in that direction? It is up to the officer's discretion as to, whether or not he's going to charge you. And it's a $750 fine if you're found in violation.
Canadians love their taxes, don't they? Or the Canadian government.
I'm paying 80%. They love their whiskey tax.
That's just the people here were already in uproar when they were just trying to make him wear a mask. So, but
I didn't think I had to for this.
Yeah, no.
I covered the mic.
But I don't know. It sounds like a little bit much, and it's got to be hard to work in that situation. So let's spin back around to some of the things that you started to release. Now, I stole a couple pictures of things that you have been talking about.
Sure, love props. Go for it.
I'm going to bring up a prop because this is one, the Dracula's flower.
Dracula's flower. It is it was funny because before we had opened, now I don't think I discussed this with you, before we had opened the distillery, I had the crew from Cast Strength over to the distillery. I think some of you know them.
Yep.
So they were in the back of the distillery, and because all our palates are different, so I really wanted to have the guys that have the ability to discern the flavors, everything else, just double check some of the things I was planning on releasing. And opening day, we wanted to have 6 products, and that was our goal. So we got there, and we had a great evening. We were 3 sheets to the wind about 2 a.m, and the guys were going to sleep in the back of the distillery in sleeping bags on the floor. And I was good with that. But then they looked at me and they said, come up with a new flavor right now. So I looked at Lisa and I says, okay, you entertain them. I went in the back room and I started going through her gin supplies. So, and I'm going through and I'm going, okay, well, here's the lavender flowers. We've already made some lavender essence. And I've got some essence of blood orange. So we used now once again, we distill all our grains separately. So the corn, the oats, the wheat, the rye, it's all done separately. So now I can grab certain amounts of that and do the mixes for flavor that will complement the floral. And Dracula's flower was born that night for the cast strength guys. I came out with it. I said, here, give this a try. And I started bottling it the next day.
That's I love it because that's like some of the best inspiration happens at the weirdest moments. But I remember them saying it was like, and all of a sudden Mark was gone. He's in the other room, mad scientist thing, this thing up, and he comes out with this, and it was tasty as hell.
And you got more of the wizard look going on now to go along with that wizardry you're working up. So
the wife collects swords. So just down the hallway here, there's a whole hallway of swords. I could very quickly become the wizard.
Start sticking them into stones, pulling them out.
So I'm curious with the design of your distillery and a lot of your very incredible decorations that you've got on there. Have you carried that over into things like the lab to make it look like a mad scientist lab?
Well, the lab has been pretty much closed off for most people, so we haven't gone crazy in there. We do have a few things. The glass still is there, so when we're doing some testing, especially in gins, and I'm firing it up this weekend as well, we'll actually do botanical testings using a 2-liter glass still. So we'll throw the vodka or the neutral grain in the bottom, and we'll filter it up through a bag. Now, typically we're going to, if we're doing a citrus, we're going to go with a heavy juniper coriander base. So we're going to soak that for 24 hours. And then we're going to put all the botanicals into a bag and stick it up in the top portion of the glass still. And as the vapor rises through the bag, it's picking up the oils and pulling them over as well. So is that going to give us the exact flavor for the big still? No, but it's sure going to give us a close edge to where we want to be. And then we can just adjust for what we think. So it's a great way, because if I'm going after a citrus gin, which is this weekend's project, I'm probably going to end up running about 30 different ones just to get the one flavor I'm going to put out in the big still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's discussions about why isn't this thing working? It's a little slow. I got a dead spot in my finger apparently.
Hey, Emily. Hi, Em. We chat a fair amount, so it's kind of nice to wave to her. Blood orange is the best underrated. It really is. It makes a great undertone. The only problem is it has a bad top end onto it, so that citric note in the top, it doesn't lend itself to a nice liqueur. And by doing it, you can do a hibiscus or you can do the lavender. The lavender floral notes will knock off that top citrus note and bring it down into a very desirable flavor.
No, that sounds awesome. Now, when we were talking about stuff in the distillery, I have just a couple pictures that I took, and this is just the entrance.
That's the front end. Now it's funny with that because we're in a mall. This building is 19 years old, and we're the first tenant. It's gone through quite a few people. It's a cement building. This thing is tornado proof as well. So it's amazingly strong. But when we looked at everything, Lisa and I went for a walk. We walked down the street, and we hadn't decided. We had our logo. We hadn't decided on what we wanted to do for a sign for the front of the place yet. So as we're walking down, we're looking at all these lit box signs, everything else, and going, you know what? I don't want anything like what anyone else has. So we came back and looked. I go, you know what? Let's just take the logo. We'll throw it onto a piece of stainless and laser it out. And then we'll stand it off 1.5 inches from the cement wall. We'll backlight it so it shows up better. And it's just stainless steel. And it's a 3D piece of art.
Looks great.
It is sweet.
Yeah.
Now let's see here. Oh, Come on here. Now, this one's just on the inside of it, just because I love the Dalek and I love the Mr. Who telephone booth. I'm sorry. Doctor Who. Sorry, I'm all wound up. I'm sorry. I was already thinking about standing in it. Is where my brain went. I was like,
actually, as I said in the last time, we built these, and for 7 years we go to Comic-Con, raise money for sick children's hospitals, and typically the hospitals was local to the event. So, like in Montreal, we go and we donate to Montreal sick kids as well as CHIO, and things like that. We take these props. Now I have 9 Daleks, and what you saw was my smallest one. And I'm inside them, and I drive them around. It is depending on how much stress you have in your life. And once again, building airplanes, dealing with the clientele I had a fair amount of stress. So the Daleks became one of the greatest stress relievers ever. You climb inside that, you act like an absolute dick. And the worse you are, the more people loved you. I drove up behind people, and I told one guy, I said, get behind me. You are now my slave. You will serve the Daleks.
That's really good.
The wife looks at me, and she says, he's a black man. I said, I know, I'm getting away with it. And you know what? Once again, because you're dealing with a creature that is superior in all aspects, everybody just joins in and has fun with it. So it goes past the lines of bigotry and everything else, and it becomes a loving event. So even though I said something that I could never, as a white man standing outside of it, have ever said in my life, or would ever think of saying in my life, inside that little black monster, I can get away with whatever I want. And, it's just all fun and games. Of course, I did turn around and shoot him. There's a CO2 fire extinguisher loaded into it, and I shot him. But then again, I shot most of the actors too.
Yeah.
Of course, have you ever seen the Superman with Dean Cain?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were at a Comic-Con, and I have my big green one. Now the big green one actually has a mini bar inside it. It's got a electric wheelchair with a large back, so it rotates around, and it's very roomy. So a lot of the actors, when they go to these shows, it's their business. That's what they're there to make money. So they don't get a chance to really walk the floors or enjoy the show, and they're definitely not there to enjoy themselves. Well, every show I'll grab one actor, and I'll throw him in a Dalek, usually the green one because he's huge, and I let them have fun for about an hour. Sometimes they don't get out, but about an hour. So we're at the show, and Jean, the guy who played Gus on Breaking Bad.
John Esposito.
Oh, Giancarlo Esposito.
That's it.
Yeah.
He gets in the Dalek. He is a very good friend of Sylvester McCoy, which is one of the doctors from Doctor Who. And he's been driving around for a while. And I had already made arrangements with the doctor that I would be driving over and I would shoot him. We'd make a big play of it, the whole bit. And I guess he didn't quite realize that I was standing outside of the Dalek. And his friend Giancarlo was inside the Dalek. And he just drove right up to him to have fun. And, of course, the Sylvester McCoy gets out and starts waving his umbrella at him, the whole bit. And I had told Giancarlo, when you go to fire extinguisher, just use an open palm and push down and let go. Because it's a big release. There's 4 guns shooting, and the cloud's going to go about 30 to 50 feet. It's huge. Yeah. So
sorry, I just thought of 50 feet in my head, and I was like, okay, that was bigger.
So he gets up, and they're playing back and forth. They're yelling at each other. They're having fun. They're in character. And, of course, Sylvester McCoy is just offside from Dean Cain's photo table, covered in photos. Esposito starts screaming exterminate, grabs the fire extinguisher, and does not let go. You could not see Sylvester McCoy. I was a little worried he was going to have a problem with no oxygen in there. But he held on to the 20-pound tank until the thing was almost empty. That took a while. All I saw was all of Dean Kane's photos up in the air, flittering around. His manager got up promptly, started yelling, screaming, and was going to sue me. And I said, "Stop. We're sorry. Giancarlo Esposito's inside. Oh, have fun. Enjoy."
That is a sigh of relief.
It's your liability insurance right there.
Yeah. Oh, we've carried insurance. Yeah, because my big green one's 800 pounds without me in them.
That's a hefty little thing.
Actually, while we're yakking, Pat, if you could quickly do a picture search for Dalek Dreadnought, DreadNaught. Yeah, that's.
So while he's doing that, I got a question for you. Who's your doctor?
The very first one for sure, William Hartnell. I just love the way he portrayed the character, and of course, he was the first. Tom Baker is everyone's favorite. Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he was the last Doctor I watched until the new series. I had to go back and catch the middle ones. But yeah, it's the Doctor just before him. I really enjoyed as well. So. The only one I really wasn't a fan of was the Doctor number 2. I think he was a bumbling idiot. But that's what he portrayed. That's the way he was supposed to be.
But still no gingers. But
there ain't one here either.
Peter, I grew up, Peter Davison was mine. And I always go back and always like him.
Sorry about that. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, so when you see him, he's big and he's green.
He's green?
He's green.
All right, hold on. Oh, yeah, I think I found him here.
Yeah, no doubt. He's all over the place.
And I got one with I got one with 3 too. Hold on a second here. I'll just load him up.
I'm nosing your vodka while he's doing this too.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a while now.
That's just what I was gonna say. I'm like, maybe we should start talking about a couple of your new releases here, like the Distilling vodka.
Yeah. So tell us about the Distilling.
So the Distilling vodka, that we've been working on that for quite some time. That is probably, I think, 37 or 38 version. Because I knew what flavor I wanted. And before anyone says there's no flavor in vodka is a neutral tasting spirit, but goddamn, you can tell the difference between a corn, a barley, and an oat. If you put if you've ever had Crystal Skull vodka, you know damn well that's a sugar wash with corn in it.
Right.
It doesn't take much.
There's a local distillery here that uses rye for the vodka, and you get a little bit of the rye grain in there, and it's great. I was doing many different mashes, and once again we have to take it up 95%, and then we charcoal filter it, and I actually I wasn't even happy with how I was charcoal filtering, so I had to design a whole new charcoal filtering system. And we had that manufactured for us, and that works incredibly well. But it came down to
what I love about you is I needed something, so I invented it. I fucking love that about you. Yeah. I needed a smoker, so I fucking invented it. I needed this other thing, so I made it up. I fucking love that.
So we ended up. I knew I wanted the barley as the base because it provides that crisp note and gives you that top feeling on your tongue. But I also wanted a touch of a caramelish sweetness into it. So I added some corn to it, which gave me that note. But I also wanted something that was a note of memory. So there is rye in it as well.
Okay.
So the barley, the corn, the rye working together create the flavor I was looking for exactly. And it gives it the diversity that you won't get in a lot of other vodkas.
I get that sweet corn note on this right away, and that's what I'm finding really intriguing.
But you won't get it on your palate. Now, we wanted originally we wanted something cool for the LCBO.
That's it looks like I think I've seen tattoos like that.
My first thought goes to Danzig, but
Yeah,
that's the metalhead in me. But.
So my daughter drew the logo.
That's pretty tight. Just let her know that's a pretty tight drawing, man. That could be in a lot of different art stages.
And we did the bottle as a tribute to J. Rad Sterling. He's a professional drummer in London. He does a lot of the backroom stuff, and he does some live bands, but he does primarily, in-house. His name is J. Rad Sterling, and we kind of lucked out a little bit because he's engaged to my daughter.
That's an even cooler connection.
Tell me,
he's got to be happy.
He was overjoyed. We kind of kept it a secret from him, and it kind of got snuck out by some other people, but we tried our best for that one.
Tell me you got T-shirts.
It's best. No, we don't have T-shirts of that yet. Sterling may.
Man.
He's endorsed by Pearl Drums, Los Cobos drumsticks, Los Lobos. Yeah. Cobos drumsticks. The wife's over there. She's telling me. And a few other sponsors anyway. So yeah.
He's got a bunch of...
Yeah. So he does some incredible work. Not all my cup of tea. I mean, when he does the ZZ Top style of stuff, I think it's great. When he does Queensryche stuff, I think fantastic. When he does the Head Smasher, sorry. I'm not listening. As soon as it goes from la 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 la, I can't do it.
That's the second time you've been eerily close tonight.
We just went straight black metal here on tonight.
So the vodka, it's once again, it is a really crisp flavor. It's got some nice, little legs to it. If you give that swirl, you can see that. Mm-hmm. And we get that from a straight grain, so it allows us to do that. And it's funny because when we run off the still, it's 95% when we run it off. And we cut it down with reverse osmosis water, and we went through experiments with about 6 different waters to do this. We ended up with a reverse osmosis attached to our other system. We went that way, we installed it after we found out that's what we wanted. So it really added to it. And we found that it wasn't quite right until we did the filtering. And in fact, it's not even, there's no sweetness almost until we started in with the charcoal filter. Now, we have to charcoal filter, but my filter is done in such a way that its first layer is bamboo, and then it's got maple, it's got applewood in it. It's all charcoal, but it adds to it.
And I was gonna say, even looking at it as a vodka, it doesn't look to me like it's completely clear in my glass. It looks like it has just like a titch hue to it to me. Maybe that could be when I'm downstairs right now too, but just I don't know. It's like the slightest color off of clear.
It's pretty clear for us when we have it at the shop, and it's. I would say that could be the wood, but it's pretty clear at the shop. So
I'm getting a little bit of a mint. There's just a tiny tinge of a mint note coming in on the nose on that, I think, from the rye, and I'm finding that really cool. There's a little bit of floral and a little bit of a mint tied in there, and that's really interesting.
At the end when you exhale. And, after you swallow it, when you breathe it across your tongue, you're getting that lift that it will give you that mint.
Okay. This to me is, it doesn't even taste like a vodka at all. In my brain as I'm tasting, if I shut off what I'm tasting, this tastes like a really kind of crazy new make.
It's like a cleaned up new make. And that's what I could sit here and just sip this. I don't normally say that about a vodka.
That was the intent. It follows all the traditions of vodka. It is a vodka under every definition, but we designed it that you could enjoy it with an ice cube.
It's refreshing.
It is.
Yep.
And it has a lot going on for a vodka. People have heard me kind of bash that in the past, but but I mean, this it has a lot of different flavors. It has almost like 3 different sections as it's going down, and it changes, and probably like 5 to 8 flavors. It's for a vodka, it's pretty complex. If I'm having it, I hope this is where stuff heads, is having a little bit of flavor, even if it's in your. I mean, I would prefer this in even a screwdriver, is something simple, than just nothing, or the stuff that almost tastes ethanol-y. It's
incredible for almost everything except for a Caesar, and we've designed a separate product for Caesars. In a martini, as a lot of other styles of drinks, it shines above most. But as soon as you try it in a Caesar, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I really like this.
But once again, it's vodka doesn't have taste. This doesn't have taste in its profile as a heavy flavor. It's pretty hard to dictate what's in there. So it does follow what it is. It's not a neutral grain spirit. It is up there. It's meant to be smooth and enjoyed. So, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's vodka, you don't taste anything. Oh, give me a break. Yeah. There's a reason why Finlandia and a bunch of others outsell, the $14 vodka on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the flavors I'm getting in this, though, is, I mean, like I said, I would enjoy sipping this plain or just neat like this. But I'm already imagining like some cocktail things going on with this too. That would be really fun with these flavors that are already there, just as a gentle base that you can really do some nuance.
To make it complex and creative. If you want to just do shots with a vodka, it's great for that. At least it won't burn you going down.
No, and it's not doing that at all.
It will burn you later.
Nope, won't catch you later either.
Oh, yeah.
You can hear that, can't you?
Yeah.
You know what? And what I mean by is that we really do. We're pretty strict and probably a little too much on our heads and tails cuts, especially with the vodka. As soon as that thing is getting below 95, it's shut off. Now, the neat thing is with the way the stills are set up, is we can run at a specific number on those stills for hours. As soon as the still gives up the ghost, there's nothing left anyways. So, I mean, it's going to pull 95 right up into the point, and you start seeing it start to waver a bit, and that you stop as soon as you see it wavering, because within, 30 seconds to a minute, it's going to bang, gone. Yeah. It'll drop right to 40. It just can't keep the 95 up.
Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned your still. Can you for the people that hadn't heard you before, can you tell us about your still?
Hey, you got a picture?
I'm trying to work on it. I might.
Okay.
But wait,
There we go.
That was a bigger one of the room, but
that's good enough. So we have the 2 stills. Then you can see the copper helmets on them. We also designed the copper helmets more off in a Scotch style than a bourbon style. We're after a specific style of flavoring for most of our spirits, and these 2 helmets at the top of the stills give us that. They're a wide-bodied still, which is once again reminiscent of a Scotch style. And you're going to see that come into play far more next year. We're hoping to do it this year, but it's going to be next year. We are going to do a Canadian style of, we can't call it Scotch, but at least a peated barley. We're going to use Ontario peat. We're going to smoke it ourselves. We're going to do all the malting ourselves. And it's going to create a unique flavor strictly to Ontario. So these 2 stills, and the one's tucked in behind the mash tun right now in the back corner there, both identical, and they're called Bob and Doug. At least someone gets it. You don't have to be Canadian for Bob and Doug.
No, you do.
Then we go into our whiskey tower. Our whiskey tower is a copper tower. Now, each window acts like another small still. So everything we do, even a lot of the times in our stripping runs, we're running through that tower. And we can look at a production coming from either one, both of the stills. And we're looking through that tower. We're aiming for about 75. It'll do 80 all day, but we're looking between 65 and 75 ABV when we're doing a whiskey style of run. And we do that when we're doing our vodka stripping as well. And then the next two towers beside it are, of course, our vodka towers. They're only ever used for the vodka and the gins. So we'll run our vodka, as you guys are tasting it right now, is 30 times distilled. Our gin is going to be 50 times distilled. And then, of course, right in behind the forklift there is our gin basket, and then the condenser off the end there. Our gin basket is huge. It's also at the very end of the line. You'll see a lot of distilleries where the gin basket is between the still and the first tower. They do that in order to mix some of the flavors in a little early to try and homogenize them a bit, but we're not. The base flavors, we're going to yank them into the still itself. We're going to, macerate them into the alcohol, let that sit for a period of time to give us our base. And then our gin basket, we're going to load with certain things, like if we're doing a rose gin, we're going to have the rose petals, there's hibiscus goes in, orange peels, a lot of other botanicals. And because it's the last thing in the system, just before the condenser, when it pulls the oils up out of there, you're retaining a full flavor. So you get some very intense flavors by doing it that way. You don't muddle them out. And that carries on into the collection vessel. So, and up the left side there, you've got the big mash tun. And then you've got the 6 fermenters there. And they're also piped that I can install a whole bunch of, like I said, we had 26, 23 fermenters going at one time. The pipe that's on the end of the fermenters can hook up to another set, and I can just keep on filling. So the whole system is fully expandable. Once I put liquid into that mash tun, I never see it again until it's done with the still. It all goes internally. I just don't have to touch it. I just turn on switches. And the CIP system is completely enclosed. The still number 2 runs the CIP system. So I warm up still number 2 with the citric acid and whatever else I'm using to clean. And then I can do every section of that whole still system, including the fermenters, and clean my whole system. It all runs back to still 2. And when that's all done, then I just clean out still 1, and then it goes down the drain. It's done.
Wow.
Everything being behind these 2 white totes you see here, you can get the labeling machine in the very front here. In behind those 2 white totes, there's a pile of grains. We grind all the grains on site. So we have a couple of mills. We got a hammer mill and a roller mill. We use the roller mill pretty much extensively. And as the mash tun is warming up, all the grains for that mash are sitting on the floor. I grind them the second they're ready to go into that mash tun. They're cracked fresh and they're used instantly. They do not get stale. Like if you crack a coffee bean, it goes nasty. Mm-hmm. Same thing will happen with grains as well. So it's all done right that day.
Oh, that's awesome. We love
so
that.
I don't want to use the T word, but do you anticipate any specific flavors that you might get from the Ontario peat? Or unique flavors?
Yeah, you know what? It's where when we're going with Scotch, one of my favorites.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
A good one.
So this is what I'm kind of aiming for is these 2 styles.
Those
okay, so
choices.
Yeah, I like that.
So I know what they're about. I know what's in there. I'm going to stay away from. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to break the train of thought.
We know we're not going to have the iodine. We're not going to head in that route where you're getting that heavy, briny iodine. We're going to be far more earthy notes, and we've already played with it. We have it in the shop, so we've used it as essence. we've screwed up some people with it burning in the background. But because we wanted to get used to the aromas and what it does, and if we need to add something to it. But yeah, it is really heavy brown, earthy notes, and that is going to go right into the barley when we malt it.
So I have another question then. So talk about smoking things.
No.
Not only is home distilling legal in Canada, other things are. Is there any chance you're going to do any other smoke infusions with the spirit in Canada?
You know, it's funny. Once again, we talked about that mall. It's been there for 19 years, and we're the first ones. There's right beside us is the same mall, basically. There's the Subway, Pita Pit, and a couple other restaurants, Chuck's Roadhouse. And they just put it in a gym, and there was one spot left. And it was kind of a smaller spot where I'm looking, I'm going, God damn, that would make a pot shop. I can have booze here, pot there. I don't really imbibe. It's just not my thing. I'm not a big fan of the feel. I do enjoy my booze quite nicely. And we looked at it, and we were looking closely at it, but we're also in a pandemic and everything else. And, we thought, well, we're not going to stick our necks out any further than we have. 5 months later, the sign goes up for the Green Cloud. It's going to be a pot shop. Damn, he beat me.
So there could be a collaboration.
You know what? Yeah. I've always said this. I work very hard, both Lisa and I, we work very hard at our product to get the flavor, to get the mouthfeel, to get that. The effect of our product is quite secondary to us. Yes, our moonshine's 100 proof, and we're going to be doing a 151 rum probably. That's only because I grew up on it.
I may have drank it's fireballs with it.
Yeah, we're not much for the effect. We are there for the flavor. And there is no way in this God's green earth I can make pot taste good.
That's fair.
Well, this is true. But if there's anyone who could do it, it would probably be you. Build a special machine just to do it.
Yeah, my daughter was over. She left a freaking cookie. And, of course, I have a huge sweet tooth. So I'm mowing into this effing cookie. Man, did I pay for that one. This is great. I raised both of my children exploiting the badness of doing any type of illegal drug, and my daughter gets me high. It's not illegal anymore, so yeah, that's fine.
It's the way it should work, right?
All right. Before we go, I'm just gonna pull back around to something because I had the pictures up here for a second. We were talking about the doc. John had before asked, how did Dean Cain respond to all of his pictures getting blown in the air? And I believe this is the right.
That was the one. So if you look on the front of him, he's got 4 guns. The top 2 guns are hooked up to the 20-pound CO2 tank. There's 1,500 lights into him. He's 800 pounds. And he's got a 600-watt sound system with 4 speakers. His bottom 2 guns are hooked up to a 50 psi water jet. I don't load that for the indoor shows. Although I did one time. So how did he react? And once again, he was furious until I said who was inside. And then he was fine. And it was all a joke, everything else. We didn't destroy too many of the pictures. The one show I was at, now, Toronto Comic Con is the second largest Comic Con in North America. Fan Expo, that's what it's called. It's 8 stories of this convention center. And I take this Dalek in, as well as some other ones, through a freight elevator. So, yeah. So, we had him down on the 8th floor. And I don't know, guys, if you've ever been to a Comic-Con, on the 8th floor with all those bodies pressed together, and some of them have not bathed in a very, very long time. I'm inside this metal monster, and it can knock me out with the smell. So, so this one particular year, it was really bad. It was bad. So, yeah, you ever watch The Dark Crystal? Smells bad. Yeah. Anyway, that was Labyrinth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like,
yeah.
That's where you're by the Eternal
The Bog of Eternal
Stench.
So I'm in this level 800, which is like 8 stories underground, and I was just too bad. So the Saturday, I loaded up the guns. I loaded up for the first time ever. I loaded up the water guns with Febreze. I changed the jets from the tight stream, which would give me about 30 feet. And I changed them to misting jets. So it's electric wheelchair. It's hard to believe something that big can chase your ass and be within a foot of you and you still don't know it. So here I am. If I'm driving around and I get that whiff that's going to knock me out, I'm chasing that poor bastard down and he's getting dosed. So it just got to the point, it's when I got, you chase them. As long as the guy's not in costume, I'm okay. So I'll just run up behind, nail him with the Febreze, turn around, run like hell in the Dalek, and people are just gutting themselves because by this point in time, they're starting to like the smells coming.
All right. Sorry about that. I just wanted to go back before we forget about it. Now, we also have a Sugar Shack maple here.
Yeah.
After the Sterling. Now,
yeah, so I've got a very old label on this one. The labels don't look like this. Wow, they look similar, but they're a whole lot better. But this is now, as everybody had before you take a drink, as everybody had a maple whiskey. Oh, there's the label.
Yes.
Yes, and I
so that one gold in the U.S. Open whiskey. The problem with having a maple whiskey is you feel like you've walked into the forest, taken your knife, and started sucking on a tree.
Yeah.
When we were doing the research for this, it was our intent to try everything that was out there because we don't want anything like anyone else. I've said that before. And every maple version I found, it was like, I might as well just open up sack pocket and start sucking. So when we designed this, the intent of this is to be a whiskey on your tongue, and it's going to backslap you with the maple. Now, keep in mind, I did say backslap.
So what grains are in this?
This one has corn, oats, and wheat.
Okay, I can tell the oats now that you mentioned. I couldn't figure out what that was, but now that you said it, that triggered.
Yeah, this is like a bowl of oatmeal with a little bit of maple syrup on it.
One day I was doing up a batch of wheat, and I hadn't eaten in, it was quite some time. So I had the mash tun going, and the mash tun was just full. And before you get into the amylase and start reducing it down into a liquid, it gets really thick with wheat. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, I'm an idiot. So I just grab a bowl of this stuff right out of the mash tun, right out to the front, grab the maple syrup, pour it on there, and that was my breakfast. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think you had that right, Mike. And then you picked it out too. It is breakfast. I was getting it as
it's absolutely breakfast.
Yes, this is. Yeah.
I was getting it as like not a buckwheat pancake, but like a different type of pancake is what I was getting when I was smelling it at first.
Mark, this is really good. I mean,
we intended it to be a whiskey note in the beginning, and then backslap you with the maple. So you're not sucking on a tree. You get the maple notes, and you get a very heavy maple finish. But it's not the sickly sweet maple of sucking on a tree.
No.
Now, is it everyone's cup of tea? Probably not. But, if you're a maple fan, yeah, should be.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, this defines breakfast whiskey right here.
Okay, hold on a sec, guys. Who has lemonade handy?
Not me. Sorry.
Bam. If you had lemonade, it is unbelievably good with this stuff. As a drink on the deck, a little bit of lemonade in with this Sugar Shack, and it's that when one of our customers told us, we thought, yeah, you're full of it. Then we went and tried it, and oh my god.
I can see how those flavors work together on this. So I definitely see that.
Mm. Wow.
So the vodka is going to go in.
Sausage.
Yeah, the vodka is going in this year for some competitions. We're going to probably shoot the Sugar Shack into a couple of others that we haven't entered before, along with some other stuff. The big one we're looking forward to is the rye.
Okay. That's coming up, but I am really impressed by this. Mm.
Well, you know what? We have a lot of flavors, and we have a lot of interesting stuff for you guys when you come up to try. And we tell our customers point blank, we don't expect you to like everything. In fact, we have stuff we hope you hate, because then we know what your flavor profile is. Like there's some people that love the fruity side, this and that, the tanginess. We've got a lemon that'll knock you out. And other people love the candy side and the thicker confectionaries, like our Fluffer Nutter. And I almost sent you Fluffer Nutter. Oh. Fluffer Nutter is peanut butter and toasted marshmallow. Yeah.
I had a picture of that one. I knew something I'd want to see. But this is, it is I could only imagine what it is in some cocktails. I was thinking smoked maple bacon old fashioned, because I think I would like this better in that than what I had this weekend.
Be interesting.
So
yeah, we don't. Once again, the wife and I were both Scotch drinkers. We're both bourbon drinkers, and we take everything neat. So we create what we have for our palate as a neat spirit, and we let our customers create all the cocktails and everything. And they've come up with some fantastic ideas. We're eventually going to have a YouTube channel of our cocktails, but yeah, that just takes time. Took me long enough just to recover my freaking website. Not yet. No, that's a big step. Hell, we can't even get in the LCBO. Everyone's flaking on us. First, our steps, and I laid this out on the first time we chatted. First steps is Ontario, then Canada, then the States.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here.
So once you start dealing with agents, LCBO, so that would be our government-run liquor stores. Yeah, the red tape is phenomenal, and anybody out there who's ever thinking of doing a distillery, keep in mind that if your hat is to make spirits and you're really happy with your product, realize that hat is only the fifth one underneath the big one, because you have the paperwork, you have everything else, the sales. You're stretched so far, and if you're not a jack of all trades, for the lack of a better word, that's what I consider myself. If you're not a jack, you're not going to survive. You can't afford it. If you can't create mechanical things, if you can't repair mechanical things, you're not going to survive. Not in a big environment.
No. And we see that with a lot of people. There's a lot of distillers that are willing to try to make their own stills and other stuff like that as they progress, just to get a little extra into it.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of distilleries our size, they buy neutral grain spirits from a third party. And then they run it through their stills, or they change it, or they wood it a bit, or they do something to it. So, they're buying 1,000 liters totes of neutral grain spirits, and then they're calling it their own. Both the wife and I have an issue with this. You're just never going to get the flavors that are uniquely yours. They are the base flavors for everyone around you.
Why are you so quiet?
Yeah, it's daunting, to say the least.
So, Mark, I keep coming back to this to the Sugar Shack here, and it's opening up, it's developing a little bit more in the glass. You talk about like the influence of Scotch, and that's a little bit more of what I'm getting on the nose, kind of that apple note you get out of a lot of Scotches.
Yep.
And then I'm picking that up a little bit in the palate too. So it's almost like maple oatmeal with apples to a degree right now.
So we are kind of picky on what we get. So every grain you're tasting comes within a 30-kilometer radius of our distillery. It's all local. The feed mill is local. Mm-hmm. So we drive down to the truck, we get it, and everything else. I think our longest drive is when we go get our rye. We have to use a different feed mill for that. The maple syrup is done by Amish people locally. So it's done on a wood fire reduction unit. So it just creates those little extras. And we are just on the outskirts. Arthur itself, where we live, is in the Amish community, Mennonites. As we're driving, we actually see them in the fall using sickles, cutting their hay, and then stacking them in teepees. So, it gives us a little unique ability that we're a little more artisan than, what others are.
How many yeast varieties?
Sorry?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, how many yeast varieties are you working with all these?
I've got about 6. 2 of them are our own.
Okay.
Oh, did you capture them yourselves?
We've cultured them.
Oh,
okay.
All right. Oh,
are you having them checked as far as making sure they stay, the right? They're not.
Actually, yeah, we've got some friends in the industry, and they're the ones that helped us design the stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got a good control on it and a good life with them.
Sweet.
I missed this before. I'm only saying first Canada, then the world.
Emily, look at the picture in front of you. There's not enough life left for the world. You get to a point in life where you realize that when you're putting these barrels away, am I going to get to open up them, or are my kids going to do it? God, they better be good in 3 years.
Well, I think you'll be.
The wife is going, I'm not that old. And it's true. I'm not that old. I just look it now.
So are you guys doing brandies too? Are you going to be doing brandies?
Well, that was one of the neat things when we initially designed the stills, was to be able to run a brandy in one and a grain in the other and run them together. Because doing a molecular mix up in the columns is a whole different flavor than if I mix 2 straight liquids. So there is a lot of experimentation to be done with that yet, and I do it with the small still first. But we're not ruling it out. Just right now, we have to get all the rest of our ducks. We have pages of experiments we want to do. It's never ending, and especially when we get into some of our rapid aging situations we're planning on. We've designed a system that it's kind of convoluted, but wow, it's going to be interesting to see if it works.
No.
So can you talk? You mentioned that one before on here. Can you talk about that without saying anything you don't want to say? But what? Because you had an interest, like you didn't like how somebody had come up with something. You're like, I think I know what's wrong, or something like that.
Well, a lot of them are you have to watch how you oxidize the whiskey or the white spirit. When you're introducing straight oxygen into it, you are oxidizing it. So our fermenters are kind of neat, is that we designed them. I didn't want a closed system, but I wanted an open system that nothing could get into. So our top of our fermenters are all carbon filtered. So when you walk in the distillery, yes, you get some nice aromas, but you're not getting that gas out, horrible CO2 smell. So we can scrub that CO2 pretty easily and use that as a agent in our process on the rapid aging. So also using a certain temperature, certain degree of Kelvin lights. And we're also looking at, the one thing that gives, when you're rapid aging, it's just to put a piece of wood in there, over oak it. That's all you're going to eat. You're going to eat wood when you bring that out. If you take a piece of wood of appropriate size and you age the wood, so if I can break down the fibers of that wood while it's in the whiskey, then those fibers, the tannins, the vanillins, all that are going into the whiskey. Mm-hmm. So you take your deck, you make a nice deck outside. It's all nice white wood. 3 years later, after the sun's beat the hell out of it, it is now very dark. That happens inside the oak barrel as well. It's not sunlight, it's just age. It's wearing out, it's making those wood fibers break down. The alcohol is going in and out of the wood, and it's pulling things out. And as the wood degrades, it's actually going into the spirit. And if you can do some of that, you can do it artificially. We can age pretty quick.
That's pretty exciting.
And we also throw ultrasonic in there as well. So,
and the kitchen sink.
Yeah. It's not a one-step process to do it right. It's nothing will ever beat throwing a barrel on a boat and sending it around the world for 20 years. Nothing will ever beat that. But if you can get close in a relative amount of time, then it's interesting. And we also have to be careful because we have draconian laws, which are very similar to Scotland. In Canada, you can't legally call anything a whiskey until it's sat in a wood barrel for 3 years and a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't have that 24-hour, if I rapid age it, put it in a barrel for 24 hours, I can call it a whiskey. I can't do that.
You don't have the American version of whiskey, like the Pabst Blue Ribbon whiskey? You don't have that one up there? That's
They can't do that, but Canada can make rye whiskey without rye in it.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can make a rye whiskey, and not have any rye whatsoever. Well, not rye, but rye whiskey, definitely. Because rye is synonymous with whiskey in Canada. So when you say rye, you mean whiskey. So that's where the carry-through is. But the trick is you can make that whiskey with no rye in it, but still has to be 3 years old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no matter what, you're still waiting.
But as you are going to sample next, trust me, it's a whole lot more than that. So the next one you're going to have is what we put on our counter, and we call it the white rye. So it is 100% rye. It is 90 proof. It's going to have a little bit of a zing to it, but it's going to, and I wish I could join you for this one. I don't have any rye at home. You're going to find this is probably far more versatile than a rye you would normally get. You can imagine this in a far broader range of different mixes.
You can tell that on the nose already. For me, it's rye, but it's got like a much more earthy note to it.
Yeah, without the influence of the wood there, you're getting the purest form of that rye grain.
And do you know what percentage alcohol this one is?
That's at 45%.
Okay, good. Because I can get in there almost too much. So take it in there and get a good smell. It's not affecting
it. You're going to be surprised. I don't know how often you've had a rye at 90 proof that's that sweet on your palate. As far as being gentle and easy.
Yeah. Sweet, little bit of sugar. It has a nice velvety feel over the tongue for me. Ooh.
Once again, rye is not a grain that's everyone's cup of tea. If you're into rye, you would probably enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, John, thanks for dropping in.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you said it's 100% straight rye. Are you using any malted rye?
That is 100% straight rye. Yeah.
Yeah. Using any malted rye in this?
No.
Nope. Okay.
On the nose, I was getting a sweetness, almost like this was a wine finished whiskey.
Now I say we're not using any malted rye. We are using amylase.
Okay.
So we're using a corn-based, barley-based amylase, both the alpha and the beta. So we are converting all the starches in there to sugars. Okay. And that's where you're getting it. We are using that, and that's where we're getting our sugars from.
Yeah, there's that musty new make note on there, but when you, especially as you get in the palate, the brightness of the grain comes forward a little more. It's got some really nice nuance of flavors going on there.
I can't pick it, but like I said, yeah, it has this really nice earthy note to it. There's no weird barnyard funk notes, no pine notes, nothing crazy with it. See, that's the other side of things, is that we don't have that here. I don't.
Sorry, guys. Canada doesn't let the good stuff go south.
No, they don't.
This is lot 40. So lot 40, it actually won this year's Whiskey of the Year in Canada. Although the one that won, I probably wouldn't give you. This was part of the Northern Collection. Now, every year there's a Northern Collection. It's specific whiskeys, ryes that are released in the fall. This is one of them. This is the lot 40 from last year. You can tell this has a brass label instead of the paper onto it. So it is just a vanilla bomb. It's incredible. Now, my favorite from last year was one that you can't get. I'm going to try and save you some.
Oh.
Yeah.
Only heard good things about them.
Yep.
This is the 49 Wellington. I tried to get another bottle of this and I couldn't. And it is, I'm really babying this one. So I'll try and keep some of that for you.
Or he's going to finish it before we get there, one or the other.
Yeah.
Well,
we wouldn't blame you.
I've had it for quite a while now, so I'm kind of staying away from it because I really want to save some. I have got, it's got to be over 400 bottles in this house.
but that's good though. We've noticed that even with a couple people we talked about with this weekend with Hunter Coffee, he was like, well, he has a little place right outside the distillery. He's like, I have 200 here, and I feel like I have a couple hundred more at home, and maybe another 50 over here. But it when you're trying to taste things like you are, where you're trying to create flavors more than a specific, I don't want to say whiskey or spirit, you're trying to create flavors. Having that wide variety never dulls your palate, and it also lets you hone in on things. Which
you know what, my flavors, my tastes change, so I'm not always in the mood for a rye or a bourbon or something like that. And I've got some very expensive scotches, especially in the bedroom in the safe. They don't come out. They're pretty rare. And I've got, the STR, the 21. There's a 25 Highland Park. There's an 18 at Highland Park and a few others. And the Macallan's up there as well. Macallan's overpriced for what you get, but it didn't used to be. And you know what? Just for it, we have a distillery, and we don't drink that much. We do enough when we taste, so we seldom ever come home and have one. Even though you can see the top to the keg right behind me. That's supposed to be on the deck. It's going to snow, so it's in the house. And that's something else that we do every once in a while. We're going to start playing a little more with one of our mashes. We may yank it out, throw some hops into it, and throw it in the kegerator and see what it does. Just to learn a little bit more on the base side. So yeah, I enjoy exploring flavors and a wide variety of it. If I'm going to have a simple, lower end Scotch, I'm going to reach for monkey shoulders. I like Monkey Shoulders. It has a bad rep for being, just the Mary Poppins of the Scotch world, but it's an easy, simple, enjoyable dram.
Yeah, it's a good entry into Scotch. A lot of people, I think, have made their foray into Scotches through Monkey Shoulders.
And you're either going to get hazed in with a Glenlivet or even with that, and same with bourbon. What is easier on the palate than giving someone that?
Yeah. So are you still? I know you said before you were working on like your own version of an American wheated bourbon. Are you?
Yes.
Did you get any of that laid down? Or are you still on track?
It's in barrels.
Okay. Oh, that's what we're talking about.
So, I get. Let's say things open back up and life is good again. What are your plans for? You got like certain spirits that you got coming out, or are you just going to still get wild hairs and say? That tastes great. I'm going to make that right now.
There's going to come a point where this shit gets cut off.
Time for the after show. Let's go.
Someone's going to come at me with scissors or a razor. It's going to happen sooner or later. Either that or else going to start carrying a big red bag on my shoulder with full of whiskey.
Just start wearing tie-dye T-shirts.
You know what? We're a new distillery, and we opened at a very rough time. We've had several disadvantages stacked against us, and we've shown through all of it. And we've come out, still with our spirits, both liquid as well as internal. And our creativity is just compounded. I think through doing the sanitizer and stuff. So we keep on learning, keep on growing, doing stupid things like deciding on the 1st of November that yes, we're going to go ahead with the Advent calendar. No, we're not going to have any repeat flavors. And we're 6 short. Leave me alone for a dear. Leave me alone for a day. I'll get them. She had to choose from 11 at the end of that day. And one of them. So once again, your new distillery. If I was American, you guys would have whiskeys right now. We'd have whiskeys all over the place in our shop, and I would have gone hog wild with the Scotch style. But because we are Canadian, we are restricted to a 3-year, same as Scotland. So we're restricted to those guidelines. You can't run a distillery without sales and just barrel everything. So we had to create a sideline. Do I want to be known for my whiskey? I sure do down the road. I'm very proud of what I've got in barrels right now. I'm very proud of the flavors I'm seeing. But the pride doesn't pay the bills as much. So
true.
What do? A lot of guys you're seeing dive heavily into gins and create all sorts of new gins and everything else. And, we do gins as well. We just don't have them out yet. We haven't gotten to the point where I can say, I want to sell this. So we've run through probably 40 or 50 batches of stuff that we are saying, it's close. Let's change it a bit. Let's maybe change the base of the alcohol. Because once again, we're not using a neutral grain spirit. We are not starting off with the base that everyone else has. We are creating that base so that we can enhance and be further different from what you see on other people's. So we're working with that. We'll get there. But in our area, if you're a new distillery, one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to look around and you're going to see all the other distilleries around you. And you're going, he makes that. He makes that. They do that. No one's doing this. That's what I'm going to be doing. Because
hence our show.
Now, yeah. So now I'm not stepping on anyone's toes. Yeah, some things are going to come close, but I make sure that mine is nothing like anyone else's. So liqueurs, everyone loves a liqueur for an evening sweet thing, everything else. And I'm a diabetic, so getting into sugar things. There's days where I've come home and she says, have you been drinking all these? No, they're all sugars. Where the hell is the insulin? Yes, I suffer from my hobby. So we we look at that, and we have quite a few liqueurs. Yeah, that's our niche at this moment. We're trying to break away from a lot of the sweetness because, once again, we don't use a bag of sugar. We use pure cane sugar. We use agave syrup. So we're using a thicker, creamier style of sweetener within the product, and it really shows. You can really taste it. So yeah, that's a lot of what we do. The rye is new to us. It was always in our plan. We are barreling it. We've got several barrels done already, and we think it's going to be unbelievable when we take that out of the barrel.
Yeah, I'm excited for how smooth and what it all has. It flows down really, really nice for where it's at. So I think the barrel is really going to torque this in a good direction.
Yeah, so 2 of them actually came from Heaven Hill Distillery, the 2 of the barrels. I got 4 barrels. They were emptied on the 27th. I filled them on the 30th.
Nice, good. I don't like when people wait like a couple weeks or a month.
There's no waiting. So they were still wet when I filled them with the rye and a couple other things. We have a couple of sherry casks that the rye is in as well. So we're kind of looking to see what that's going to do.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. I love the way you're playing with this.
Pat hears sherry and he's...
I got excited.
Spidey senses are going off. Oh. He's excited.
Are you going to try to barrel age things like your Fluffer Nutter and Dracula's flower? Okay.
No, it never work out.
Good.
It'll never work out. One thing we are thinking of, and we got to talk to we have a lot of beekeepers, honey producers up here. Mm-hmm. So we're actually thinking of barreling some honey and let them have the barrel aged honey, and we then fill the barrel with something.
That's fair. We do know of someone who uses the honey to make somel. So they make a beer, then they distill it out into that. So there's a lot of fun ways to go with that.
There is. Yeah. Same as there's a few things we're going to explore. There is a company in Quebec that gets agave syrup, and we're looking at maybe trying a couple of barrels with that in it. And then once we empty them out, we're going to fill it with probably a straighter grain. So I'm thinking something like a straight heavy bourbon, heavy corn, and maybe just a corn and rye blend. That could be interesting. I haven't tried that one yet. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going back through the 3. When you mentioned the pure sugar or the agave syrup that you're using, I think I can. It's like tasting with the real Mountain Dew and then fake Mountain, like the after Mountain Dew if you have them.
Yeah, now there's the only one that will have sweetener in it is the Sugar Shack.
Mm-hmm.
And that only has maple syrup.
Yeah, I just mean I feel like I'm getting like a different it's a little different level of sweetness, or a flavor texture to it on the sweetness stuff. Like it's there, but it's like I said, it's the difference between like real Coke or whatever, like real sugar and Coke, and then all the stuff that happened afterwards, and you can put them next to each other. They're not the same.
Yeah. So we're after, once again, how does it feel on your tongue? How does it feel on the back of your throat? When you swallow, there is a feeling in that. So we're concerned about all those. When we get to the rum, we'll might change our tone a bit with 151 proof, but we're not after to knock you on your ass. It's the 151 we will. The only reason why I'm doing that is because I grew up on Lamb's Navy 151. It's gut wrenching stuff, but hell, it was still better than my moonshine from back then.
But now we're talking about all the whiskey and stuff. Now you have won some cool awards, and I'm going to bring up this one picture here. It's of the 4 Peppercorn.
Right. So that one there has the best in class. the silver award at the Canadian Artisan Spirit Competition. And we've won several awards at that show just recently. The silver was actually the top in the category. There was no gold in that category. So that won that, as well as best in class. And in the U.S. Open Whiskey competition, which is all North America, it won bronze. The Sugar Shack,
I switched over.
No problem. The Sugar Shack won gold in the U.S. Open Whiskey competition. And we didn't enter that into the Canadian one.
No. But then you have this other big one off to the side here. The 2020
top 5 distilleries in North America.
Yeah.
In the U.S. Open Spirits competition.
On year 1.
Actually, within the first 2 weeks of our opening.
Take that.
Yeah, because we grabbed the bottles off the shelf within the first 2 weeks and we sent them away. So...
So that's what I mean. When you take the time and dedication and do something unique and neat, this is the type of stuff that happens. Yeah, and that's what we want to show people. Yeah. And I mean, that is including the U.S. as well too. So that's what we love about that award. It's a hell of an accomplishment. And how did you guys take it when you guys got that? Because that's impressive to land.
It's funny because we never thought we'd win anything. We honestly didn't. We didn't enter in any of our spirits thinking we're looking for the awards. We're looking for that. No, what we did is, and I guess it's our approach to everything, is we want validation of what we see, and we want the experts to tell us what they think. So when you enter these competitions, the neat thing about them is they go across several different palates. They're all blind, and they're all written down in tasting notes, and we get these tasting notes. This is invaluable to us as a distillery. This is invaluable because now I can take, and of course, once again, we all have to imagine that we all have different taste profiles, so we take that into account. But if I'm going across 15 judges, each one of them writes down a paragraph of what they like, what they don't like, what they see in it, I can digest all 15, maybe adjust or tweak to get to the majority of flavor. That's what we were looking for. That's all we wanted. When when the whiskey competition, U.S. Open, when the results for that came out, and we saw a gold, a bronze, top 5 distilleries, we were in tears. We really were. We just couldn't imagine that happening, and it was beyond our wildest dreams. And then when we entered the Canadian competition, we were thinking, okay, well, we did win some. We're going to throw in some different stuff and see what that does and see what the profiles are. And we came across with the best in class. We got a silver, which was the top of the category. The Moonshine got a silver in top Vits category. And then the Tropical Thunder won a bronze. So we were gobsmacked again. You know, and we got all the tasting notes. The 4 Peppercorn, it was hilarious because when you read the 4th, now the 4 Peppercorn is designed solely as a whole new base to make a Caesar. Now, yeah, so a Caesar. Okay, so a Caesar is clamato, so it's tomato clam juice mixed together. Who was ever drunk enough to come up with that? It had to have been a Canadian because that's where it's from. So for you guys, it's a Bloody Mary. So we created this as a whole new base for the Bloody Mary and Caesar mix. And once you actually try it, you would have a hard time going back to using a vodka as a base. It enhances it so much. It really does. And it's won awards. But, you know, you look at the one judge says, I have no idea why the hell anyone would make this. I go, okay, well, if you're shooting this peppercorn straight, yeah, we can sympathize with you because that's hell. And then, you know, you get another judge who says a creative, novel idea used as a base for a Caesar would be fantastic. And, you know, if the judge got what it was for, then it got a good review. If they had no clue, it was just.
So how many of the judges are from from the U.S. because I'm curious. I mean, other than us dorks, how many people in the U.S. have been able to sample your spirit but get to know what you're doing?
It's kind of neat. One of the group there's in the U.S. Open Whiskey Competition, I think there's 6 different areas that are judges. Texas is one, and then the southern states, New York, and then the Niagara College in Ontario. So the Niagara College has a brewery course as well as a distiller's course. It's a very nice college, and the guys are super nice. And I said to him, I can't ship legally across the border and this and that, and I'm not going to do anything illegal. I can't risk my license. I said, can I drop it off at the college? He says, sure, I'm here. Just drop it off with me. I'll take care of it. I legally delivered it to Ontario. How it got to the States?
Always leave that to however it happens. It's magic.
It's whiskey fairy magic.
It's right. Mules happen.
But no, I just wanted to put out there that the stuff you're winning is legitimate. Like, and that's why we wanted to put it up there. We were happy for you. Obviously, we were talking to you and friends with you before that ever happened, and we're ecstatic to see the recognition that you're getting because we know the knowledge, time, and effort you are putting into what you're doing. Like I said, folks, he needs something to smoke to use to smoke. He invents the shit. Okay, not everyone invents. Like we need to make a smoker. Well, let's make a better smoker. Hold on.
I just got an email from the guy who's doing the building for me on that. He wanted to know the temperature, so I'm going to take the malt up so I can get the darker chocolate malts in that. So because we have to do a double casing on the outside of the tumbler, that way, when we throw the grains in there, it's an all-in-one unit. You throw the barley in or corn or whatever your grain you want to malt. It automatically, once we get the system, the computer designed, it soaks it, keeps it at a certain humidity, will mist it if it needs to, drains it off, tumbles it so the roots don't get all bound up, doesn't become one brick. And then at the end, it starts tumbling, breaking off, and then the heater will toss in all the heat. We can dial that in for how long we want, plus the smoker's built right in, so that smokes it right through as well. So, and it all came from, I walked into this malt house, and I saw this 4-story round tumbling machine, and I looked at it, and going, this can be scaled. Not up, down. So if everything works out, and hopefully we're into it this fall, if it all works out, and using once again Ontario peat because we want that flavor, you don't have to use Ontario peat. You can bring in logs from the Scotland if you want, but we can get it down to a size that every brewery, every distillery can malt their own. And you know what? The world of flavors that are going to come from something like that is going to be astronomical. You don't need, in any mash you're doing, you only need 17% malted barley to convert the sugars in all the rest of the grain. So as long as what you're doing has 70% barley, you don't need to buy amylase anymore. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want the barley, you can malt all the corn. You can malt all the rye. You can do what you want. You'll just need more. The barley itself has a higher diastatic power. That's why it's so commonly used in so many whiskeys and bourbons, because the diastatic power converts all the starches in the other grains. And the cost, a bag of barley is $11. A bag of malted barley is $78. It's the same effing grain. It just spent a week in something soaking.
Wow, that's a vicious jump.
So yeah, it's if we can make it available, or at least give the guys plans on to make this for their own small distilleries, it'll make a world of difference. And you're going to see a lot of newer, interesting flavors pop out. And that's what the world's all about.
That is.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't touched on the Distilling Canada channel.
I was going to say, James is just jumping off here. He's from the UK. So thanks for stopping in, James. We appreciate it. And I was going to say, and Gil was saying that it's just a wealth of knowledge again. And that they better change the laws. But good luck with that. We'll all keep railing on that. It takes both sides. Both sides of the bridge.
Get there eventually. We need to be far bigger than what we are. So, that's just it's a time thing. If we can get there, we will. And we'll see. To me, if we can get to the point where you can order from our online store, when we get that up, and there's a story there, and we can ship the States, I'll be really happy. That I don't need to be on the shelves in the States. As long as you can order from us, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. We have the YouTube channel still in Canada. I keep saying we, but me. Because of all of this and everything that happened, opening a distillery, and like you heard me at the beginning, I'm spending 18 hours. I sleep on average 4 to 5 hours a day. That's it. 7 days a week. That's what I live on. And I'm good with it. I always have. I've always had 5 or 6 hours sleep. So unlike this one at the bottom here is just passing out on us.
Is he? Ben,
I'm here. So yeah, it's like I'm here now. We are going to probably end up having to wrap this before we see Ben drop out of his chair.
Yeah, I'm in that Eastern time zone down here, so.
Yeah, your point. I have to get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
and I'm Eastern as well. So yeah, and it's so the YouTube channel is been the one to suffer, and it really upsets me. I've got 5 videos sitting in this computer in front of me. They all need to be voice edited, and I just haven't had time to do it. And I have to make time because I'm really, I feel an obligation for those people. And there's a couple of new series I want to bring out. Like there's a whole new gin series, and I want to teach people how to do their ratios and how to decide on the ratios for gin, like what type of botanical, how much. There is a recipe for it. There is a simple math calculation. You can do it all. You can make any gin you want and know the ratios are proper. And our rum. We're getting into rum this summer. We're going to be a little different than most of the people. A lot of the distilleries are using blackstrap. We're using fancy.
Nice.
So fancy has a far higher fermentable sugars. It is a far higher flavor. When you're using blackstrap, you're typically adding brown sugar to it and now give it a bit of a harshness. Whereas if we go fancy right off the bat, it's going to give that smoother, creamier, and milkier rum flavor. Yeah. So we're going to play with that. I still have to set up and do a bunch of test batches and before I run the big one. But yeah, that'll happen this summer. And I am a big rum person. At least I was when I was younger. And although I prefer my whiskeys, my ryes, all that to be that smooth, glide down the tongue, not burn you, not regret it the next day. No, I want rum to kick you in the balls and knock you over.
I like an aggressive rum. That's usually sweet flavors. So having something else be aggressive in there is makes it exciting.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Mark, question for you: are you any plans on like using the dunder to make the big funky rum flavors, kind of like the Jamaican style?
Yeah. Have you ever read up on dunder pits?
I have, and I've actually, I'll just say I've messed around with some dunder. So,
how many antibiotics did you take after you were done?
I didn't touch it. I didn't drink it, but
what?
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
get myself
Jamaican rums have dunder pits, yes, and they use them quite a bit. I could not, in any good conscience, use that up here. It would gross me out too much. I mean, right. I watched the guy yank a fucking dead raccoon out of it, and said, "Yeah, we're just going to use it."
Right. I'll throw out. I know that the high ester, high funky rums have there's a big draw in the home distilling groups for those. And so there's a lot of where they're taking, they just take a bucket, set it in the garage or set it in the shed. They throw the dunder there and they just let it, naturally age and what happens. And then when they're ready to dip some out and use it. But yeah, so I was just curious. You're talking about a big flavorful rum. So
so what you're typically looking for is a lactobacteria infection. So it's creating its own esters and funky flavors. That can be achieved to some degree out of your primary yeast and in a combination of several yeasts to give you some of those esters. You don't have to throw something disgusting in that you're actually hoping the alcohol will kill before it comes out. Right. Now, having said that, in a lot of the trials we have done already, I do prefer a darker rum. So what we'll use is we're going to use the back set. So the back set is going to be, because that is the initial mash with all the alcohol removed. That's what's left in the still that you normally flush down the down the drain. So we're actually going to capture some of that and hold on to that and use that to live feed our alcohol, give us that darker flavor and give it that more. And we'll probably have to add, some people are going to think it's sacrilege. That's fine. I grew up on molasses, so we will add some fancy molasses to it. We might even add a touch of blackstrap because blackstrap is far harsher. So if I want to go that way, do I need to go with the underpit? No, I don't need to.
Dusty Moonshine was just saying that it was a great show. Thanks for the info. I'll make sure you knew that. Yep. And just a minute ago, John was saying Mark 1, Ben 0, and that's accurate.
So Dusty is,
and I concede.
Dusty's been a pretty decent friend to us. I've answered a lot of his questions, and he's helped me out too. He's actually got a care package on his way up to us of Bloody Butcher corn, Jimmy Red corn, Hoppy Blue corn, and there's one other in there as well. So he's got varieties of ancient grains that we're actually going to take out to the farm, and we're going to grow as much as we can this year, and then use that for seed for next year's plantings. So
all of those ones are good crops. I'm just going to say most of the stuff made with them, I'm a fan.
They all create a different flavor. So when we have production done it, we can actually run them. We're going to run each one separately, capture it, and use it as a blending component.
I like what you're doing because you're doing that anyways. So you're focusing on the other side of craft that I think is so neat is the blending aspect. I find that to be much more difficult for me conceptually, just to be able to know, and I know you're a science guy, to be able to pull certain amounts in your head, like when you taste something like, oh shit, this is where I need to go, and already have probably a predetermined amount in your head, maybe not definite, but like maybe about 10% or something, like, let's try this.
It's nothing special. It's all self-taught. You have to learn it yourself. It's like when we went to do gins. I have no idea what half these botanicals taste like. So what I did is I took a small amount of alcohol, 50 mils in each bottle, and I've got about 30 bottles there, and each one has a different spice in it. So now I have trained myself going through that way too many times to try and figure out, as soon as I can smell it, I can relate that flavor on my palate. So now I know, and to some degree, I'm capable of figuring out, okay, if I just use this much here, I should get this step. And that's so it's like when you're tasting whiskeys, the difference between a bourbon and a scotch. Well, that doesn't come overnight. It's unless it's Lafroig. I got the Lafroig. Yeah, you'll know that overnight. So it's the same thing. You've trained your palate, you've trained your senses to recognize a certain thing, and you know what? Anybody that can sit at a table and get a blind serving of a whiskey and be able to tell you what the hell it is, man, that's amazing. That really is.
In the 1 week we had Eli on here, I was happy. I got the distillery, not the right release, and I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell it was the original. I'm like, but I at least know it's here. And I think that was the only one I was close to it on night. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And you know what? It's to be able to do it, even to be able to separate the categories between, now, most of what you have is Canadians. Let's back up again. Bourbon is a mixed grain, single distilled, single fermented product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you take two different types of grain, you mix them together, you cook them together, you ferment them together. Canada, when we start talking about blending, Canada, a typical Canadian distillery, old-time distillery, has distilled every grain separately and has fermented them all, and they barreled them all separately. So when you get a spirit that is blended in Canada, it is actually each grain is done separately, and that's how you. Yeah, I'm trying to get a fellow on someday. I'm going to try and do a YouTube on Dr. Don Livermore. If you ever have the chance, Dr. Don is the absolute sorcerer of blending. He's fantastic, and he has created some of the top names. Like he's created the Lot 40, he's created the Goodner Hammond works. He's created those flavor profiles. He has a flavor profile wheel he designed, and it's exceptionally handy because even I use that in my processes. So I'm going to try and get him on and have a chat with him because I think there's some great learning to be had from that gentleman too.
Oh. I've listened to him once, and it's insane the amount of. There.
Yeah. It's at some point in time. If I ever do get him on the video, at some point in time, you're going to see we're not worthy. Yeah, it's but yeah, Canadian is typically a blended spirit, as much as ours is as well, except. When we get into the gins, the vodka, that sort of thing, it is multiple grain, but done together as a rule.
Okay. I like that.
Simple because, once again, we're not buying in neutral grain spirit. We're not buying in something everyone else can have. So we actually had to set, especially our vodka, we had to set it up that we can mass produce our vodka in very short order. So the original versions of it were all separate grains. And then blended together at the end. The only problem is I wasn't getting to the flavor profile I truly wanted. And the amount of work that was involved to get to that point was not repeatable on a large process. So, and I'm aiming for LCBO. And LCBO can call me every 2 weeks and say, we want 8,000 bottles every 2 weeks. And you can never say no. So I have to be able to have a process, and the vodka is fitted for that process, that I can bang off almost any amount in any time I need to.
Yeah, I also thought that was ridiculous with that. I get having a schedule, but to be able to change it at random too is like, well, we want 2,000, like once a month, and then like to be like, oh, then the very next month, hey, that's sold. Why don't you make 10?
Yep. Yep. And you can never say no. So it's. You're only taking 1,000 this week? Good. I still have 7,000 left.
So with the Canadians' love of taxing, or at least taxing a distiller, would you get penalized for having 7,000 on hand?
Not in our bonded room, and that's where our barrels are sitting right now. We have a room that is bonded, so I can take any of my spirits from my distillery, so the distillery side, which isn't taxed, and I'm allowed to carry it through my taxed room into my bonded room. They'll allow me to do that without paying tax. But yeah, once I get in the bonded room, that was an actual argument.
Yeah.
Sorry.
As long as it doesn't touch the floor.
That was when they said that too.
Yeah.
If it's on the forklift, you're fine. You're just going right through. I said, well, what about if I'm just going to pull it on the trolley? Yeah. I'm allowed to walk it, but I can't set the box on the floor.
That darn floor.
Always getting in the way of shit.
Yeah, so everything on the distillery side and on the bonded room side, it's fine. I don't have to pay taxes on any of that. And thank God, because when I weigh the barrels, I know they're not going to be that weight when I empty them. Rather pay the tax after the angels have had their fun. So as soon as it goes out on the showroom floor, tax is paid instantly.
Wow.
And a bottle of Canadian is 83% tax.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why it's a volume sales business for us, anyways. Ontario is one of the highest. I think Ontario is the highest in taxation. So it's we need to get to the LCBO. We're going to survive. The building will always be here, and the business will be here. But for us to make money, we need to be in the LCBO. There are products that we can't sell the LCBO. Simply because our cost margin isn't there. We don't have a big enough margin. We still have to pay the tax regardless, and a portion of that goes to the LCBO, even though we sell it in our own storefront. But we can't sell some of our stuff wholesale to the LCBO. Like Dracula's flour, our margins are too high, so it's a storefront product only.
Wow, and then. As things open up, that's what we hope more for, is people to come check out distilleries, because yours is one to stop at, not just because of the distillery, because it's a memorable event.
And you know what, that's in our basic charter. It's we have what I believe are superior and amazing spirits. Everyone you ever talk to is going to say that. And the funniest thing is, I've told people many times, I don't have to like what I make. I just have to be proud of it. And I'm proud of everything we do. But there's some flavors there where the wife loves it. I'm not a fan of lime, and we have a limer that will suck your cheeks in and make your tongue roll up. I'm going, how does this shit sell? And people are coming in and saying, this is amazing. Okay, that's great. Yeah, we're pretty proud of the ingredients are in there. I just don't know how you can stomach it. And that's fine. And there's then there's stuff that'll hit my profile just beautifully. We have one there. It's a butter rum, and it's one of the ones. Remember, I said I had one day to make 6 products.
Yeah,
butter rum was one of them. Fluffer Nutter was another one, and I actually had to make a whole new base spirit for the Fluffer Nutter. But I'd been working on that off and on for years, so I pretty much had the new base spirit ready for it. But do you ever remember the Lifesaver storybook?
Yes.
Where you got every Christmas
right.
You got that butter rum one. You can't buy that in Canada, and I nailed it in alcohol.
I'm impressed.
Sweet. Yeah.
We have got the Engineer George butter rum, and my God, it's like putting those whole roll of those candies in your mouth.
That sounds like the adult Christmas present right there. Start stuffing your stockings with those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we threw that in the advent calendar, and it so many people were screaming for it. It's now part of our main line.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like I said, you never know what's really going to be coming out of anything when you're doing it, so I love it. We are coming up on almost 2 hours here, so I don't know how much longer Ben's going to be able to stay awake without falling out of his chair.
Yeah, he's having a hard time.
I need more coffee.
But like I said, we were so thankful that you could come on this evening and talk about what's going on up there and some of the fantastic stuff that you're making. This is why we don't want to just focus on stuff in the U.S. We want to focus on stuff that is throughout North America or the world, because your product is standing out amongst a lot of other things there.
Well,
damn it, Mike. So if you didn't see what he put up there.
Yeah, I kind of miss. I can't read while I'm talking. So.
Yeah. Ben and Pat have two different ideas of adult Christmas presents.
Yeah.
You see the size of the bubbles we're putting in?
Going dual purpose here.
Hey, at the end, you can pop the cork. No,
All right, we're hitting the after dark segment.
Oh,
here.
now I know where I was. Yeah. So, Canada has an undesired, unwarranted reputation for its whiskey to some degree. You folks get clown loyal, and some of you just love it. Others of you take it for what it is. We don't ship the good stuff down. Sorry. Yep, that stays here with us. We like this. Canadian Mist, if you've ever had that. Yeah, a lot of people think our stuff is that. We're not going to change your mind. Sorry. Come on up. We'll give you the good stuff.
Yeah. So once that border does come down, we may be venturing across the border, and if we do, we'll probably let some other people out there know about it, because it would be fun to do a group trip. So we just got done with one that's be another great place to have some people come with and experience a fun night or a fun weekend when we're in the area. So
yeah, and you know what? Yeah. One of our goals, one of our mandates right at the beginning was to make Silver Fox Distillery an experience. It is still part of Distilling Canada, so that experience is for the other side of the coin, in which people are trying to learn, trying to discover that, and we're very open on people asking questions, coming out. We hide almost nothing. I will tell you point blank what my green bill is, because it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can't get the flavors I'm doing because of the equipment. There's three things involved in getting a final flavor. That's the ingredients, the equipment, and the knowledge. I can give you all the ingredients, but you're still missing the other two legs. And, even if you have two legs, you're still missing that third leg, which is my equipment to some degree. So you're never going to be able to replicate exactly what I do. You're going to make a nice spirit, and it's going to be probably very nice in your style, but that's your style, and that's great. All the power to anyone trying to do what they're doing. So that's why I'm so open. It doesn't interfere with what I'm doing. Are you going to know what my yeast is? No, sorry. Yeah. I'm not going to show you how to make that. No. But, for people who are starting out, and, I say you're always making a beer anyways, there's nothing wrong with using a bread yeast. A lot of guys are right upset about using a bread yeast. And I started it with a bread yeast. Hell, that's what I made with my molasses shine with, was grandma's bread yeast. Okay, yeah, it wasn't the greatest back then, but I've made some decent stuff with bread yeast since then. And it's fine. So it's available. It's simple. You don't have to go out and get anything special. So, yeah, those people come in. There is a key in the distillery for people. They'll recognize it, and as soon as they mention what it is, then I lock the doors in the back room, and I take them back room. We have an open conversation. I'm good with it. There's a lot of distilleries that aren't. So for some of you guys, I know some of you guys that are listening, it came over from some of these other channels, and be aware that don't go into a distillery and talk about what you're doing at home. They're not all on the same openness as what we are. There's a symbol to look for. If you see the Chase the Craft symbol, then you should be safe. It's once again, there's a lot of people doing it. It should be legalized in the States. There's no reason why not. The greatest boon to beer and the flavors of beer are when all those home brewers got into the market, because now the big guys are looking, Coors Light, there is something better out there. You don't need to drink the urinal piss. So there's a lot more exploring to be had, and the brewers coming to have their own little shops. Those craft artesian breweries, they've created some great stuff. They've created some shit too, but it once again, if you like what they do, great. I do not like grapefruit, and why the hell is everybody making a grapefruit beer? It's beyond me.
I agree wholeheartedly on that aspect, man.
Oh,
I don't like it. You have to add sugar to it to begin with.
Oh, now I've got to try that. One thing I do like is a Hefeweizen beer. Now, Hefeweizen gets its banana notes from the yeast, so it's not a full sugar thing, and it's great on the palate. So, yeah, I'd love to see that happen to distilling. It's a lot of these, a lot of moonshine places are popping up. And you know what? Even I call our stuff moonshine. But our moonshine is actually all the starches in the grains are converted to sugars. And we use those to make alcohol. Whereas a true Appalachian moonshine is a sugar wash with corn dumped in. You're not converting the corn. You're just using it for the flavor. And you can carry over that corn flavor into the sugar wash. It's going to be harsher. It's going to be burn more. You can make it smooth and everything else, but it'll never be as smooth as doing a straight grain conversion.
Mm-hmm. and that's why we appreciate what you're doing, Mark. It's going the extra mile, and it shows in what you're putting out here. So thank you for coming on the stream, Mark. We really appreciate all the knowledge. We can't wait to talk to you again. And what we've tasted here tonight is only shows where you're going to be heading. And it seems like it's just up and up. So
yeah, the vodka we're really looking forward to. With the vodka and the rye have not gone into any type of judging. We're looking forward to seeing what gets said for that, especially the rye. I think that'll be pretty impressive. The vodka, yeah, they may say it's not. They may be looking for a harsher, cleaner. But yeah, that's not us. We're not going to do that.
I think that's the surprise one for me is the vodka. That's the one that took me outside the edges. I wasn't expecting as much out of, and it really did it was really nice. So
yep, yeah, it stands on its own. Yeah, I've got a Crystal Skull up there that I will never drink, and I've run that through a Brita filter 10 times. It got better on the 10th run, but man, it's still nasty.
I may have gotten that for someone and never have tasted it, and then I was like, "Ooh, I made a bad decision."
You did no favors.
I think I tried to clear it up. I'm like, well, you like Dan Aykroyd, so like that's why we're gonna lean into it.
Yeah. You never give any Crystal Skull without also giving a Brita filter as well.
They should just build it like onto the bottle.
At least
screw it right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Filter as you pour.
Add that little warning beside it. If you want this to be consumable, filter.
You was just saying, thanks, Mark. Thanks for being on. Fantastic guest. And Emily says that we're all her favorite nerds. So thank you for stopping in.
I laugh at I spent years motorcycling, scuba diving, flying, all that. And then I got into the Daleks, and I've always had that background. And I always, for the longest time, said, I'm not a nerd. I just like building cool shit. And then one day my daughter walked up and she said, Dad, shut the hell up. You're an effing nerd. You're the king of nerds. I never argued it again.
Sometimes you just got to embrace that reality.
Yeah, just take it. Yeah.
Take it and run with it.
Yeah, hell yeah. And
next time you see me, I'll probably dye all this white and I'll be Whiskey Santa. I do like that. I'm using that.
I hope you do. I would not mind seeing Mark come down the chimney with a bag of his whiskey. Hey, you're finally here. We've been waiting. We have cookies and insulin. All right. Well, Remember, it's not the size of the den, everyone. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, hold on here. Damn it. Dead finger.
Damn it, Patrick.
I don't know what's going on.
What did you
Get to it. 1, 2, 3.